low productivity, and delays, which result in cost overruns and compromise in building quality. But all of this can easily be avoided. Introducing Glodon CubiCost 5D BIM Digital Cost Management Solution. It brings the power of advanced tools, 3D capabilities, cost management, and other digital solutions to developers, contractors, subcontractors, and consultants. Glodon CubiCost offers 4 types of BIM-based solution that will cover your construction project management lifecycle. With TAS, TRB, TBQ, and TME, you will be able to plan projects effortlessly and streamline processes during the tender, design, and construction stage. Experience smooth collaboration and work efficiency among all project stakeholders over the entire project lifecycle. Furthermore, with the Glodon CubiCost series, users can now strengthen the collaboration by sharing BIM model data online across all project stakeholders. CubiCost TAS 5D BIM Quantity Takeoff for architecture and structure. With TAS, users can experience fast and accurate quantification of 2D drawings and 3D models. Thanks to localized built-in measurement rules, deductions are processed automatically with visible and traceable calculation expressions in 3D, making examination tasks easier. Combining incredible 3D visualization and CubiCost cloud collaboration platform, TAS helps you to achieve an impressive level of efficiency and gets your project off to a great start. CubiCost TRB 5D BIM Quantity Takeoff for rebar. With TRB's built-in calculation parameters, users can get the most accurate data for rebar quantities and various rebar schedules at all times. In addition, TRB's 3D visualization presents you with reliable rebar quantities, and that means you get the most precise and flexible quantity extraction, leaving nothing in the gray. CubiCost TME 5D BIM Quantity Takeoff for mechanical and electrical. Current industry practices pose a huge challenge for experts looking to generate accurate MEP quantity reports, which could cause negative impact on project efficiency. But this issue doesn't have to be the norm. With TME, users can digitally calculate MEP quantities with comprehensive features. Equipped with incredible visualization tools, precise identification methods, and built-in standard calculation rules, TME is more than able to elevate your work experience and efficiency. CubiCost TBQ 5D BIM Digital Cost Estimation and Management. Cost management can be a time-consuming affair, but this doesn't always have to be the case, as TBQ offers a lean data management to your cost data. With TBQ, you will be able to streamline workflows and experience better collaboration between stakeholders, all of which is made possible by consolidating vital data such as rates, tenders, and various cost analysis within a unified platform. All your valuable cost data can be centralized, reused, and analyzed in TBQ to provide better insights, thus helping you evaluate and generate new tenders with just one click. Experience the flexibility to generate BQ report easily in various formats and the capability to collaborate with other project stakeholders. By bringing together all stakeholders onto a single platform, Glodon CubiCost ensures smooth flow of information and streamlined work process between team members. Over time, the AEC industry has gone through rapid changes and innovations to face ever-evolving new challenges. Digital transformation in the AEC industry necessitates the use of 3D visualization to handle more complex construction projects. The lack of digital solutions will lead to costly and time-consuming errors related to quantity takeoff, drawing interpretation, and design coordination. These lead to poor project accuracy, low productivity, and delays, which result in cost overruns and compromise in building quality. But all of this can easily be avoided. Introducing Glodon CubiCost 5D BIM Digital Cost Management Solution. It brings the power of advanced tools, 3D capabilities, cost management, and other digital solutions to developers, contractors, subcontractors, and consultants. Glodon CubiCost offers 4 types of BIM-based solution that will cover your construction project management lifecycle. With TAS, TRB, TBQ, and TME, you will be able to plan projects effortlessly and streamline processes during the tender, design, and construction stage. Experience smooth collaboration and work efficiency among all project stakeholders over the entire project lifecycle. Furthermore, with the Glodon CubiCost series, users can now strengthen the collaboration by sharing BIM model data online across all project stakeholders. CubiCost TAS 5D BIM Quantity Takeoff for architecture and structure. With TAS, users can experience fast and accurate quantification of 2D drawings and 3D models. Thanks to localized built-in measurement rules, deductions are processed automatically with visible and traceable calculation expressions in 3D, making examination tasks easier. Combining incredible 3D visualization and CubiCost cloud collaboration platform, TAS helps you to achieve an impressive level of efficiency and gets your project off to a great start. CubiCost TRB 5D BIM Quantity Takeoff for rebar. With TRB's built-in calculation parameters, users can get the most accurate data for rebar quantities and various rebar schedules at all times. In addition, TRB's 3D visualization presents you with reliable rebar quantities, and that means you get the most precise and flexible quantity extraction, leaving nothing in the gray. CubiCost TME 5D BIM Quantity Takeoff for mechanical and electrical. Current industry practices pose a huge challenge for experts looking to generate accurate MEP quantity reports, which could cause negative impact on project efficiency. But this issue doesn't have to be the norm. With TME, users can digitally calculate MEP quantities with comprehensive features. Equipped with incredible visualization tools, precise identification methods, and built-in standard calculation rules, TME is more than able to elevate your work experience and efficiency. CubiCost TBQ 5D BIM Digital Cost Estimation and Management. Cost management can be a time-consuming affair, but this doesn't always have to be the case, as TBQ offers a lean data management to your cost data. With TBQ, you will be able to streamline workflows and experience better collaboration between stakeholders, all of which is made possible by consolidating vital data such as rates, tenders, and various cost analysis within a unit. All your valuable cost data can be centralized, reused, and analyzed in TBQ to provide better insights, thus helping you evaluate and generate new tenders with just one click. Experience the flexibility to generate BQ report easily in various formats and the capability to collaborate with other project stakeholders. By bringing together all stakeholders onto a single platform, Glodon CubiCost ensures smooth flow of information and streamlined work process between team members. Glodon CubiCost advanced digital solutions have tremendously helped AEC firms to accelerate their efforts towards the digital transformation to achieve maximum efficiency and accuracy. Glodon CubiCost 5D BIM Digital Cost Management Solution has been a cornerstone of the construction industry and provides complete support to users throughout the project lifecycle. Organizations from around the world choose us as their partner to make their cost management and team collaborations smoother than ever. simply by using Glodon CubiCost 5D BIM Digital Cost Management Solution. Glodon CubiCost, the #1 trusted 5D BIM Digital Cost Estimation Solution in Asia. Connect with us today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our 2022 webinar, Journey Towards 5D BIM. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Kimberly Lau, Business Consultant of Glodon. First of all, on behalf of Glodon team, we thank you for taking the time to be part of our event. We're excited to have you with us to witness how CubiCost 5D BIM empowers the construction firms to better manage their projects, especially during tender stage as well as construction stage. Your presence means a lot to us. BIM digitalization has now encompassed the entire AEC industry. When there are major shifts in the industry, the only way to benefit from them and continue to thrive is to stay agile and keep up with the pace of change. As technology develops further, BIM-based digital cost management platforms gives AEC players unprecedented levels of accuracy, productivity, and real-time collaboration. This year, we will be focusing on implementing 5D BIM on construction projects. We care about your thoughts and we want to hear your feedbacks. If you have any questions throughout the event, please feel free to engage with us by typing your questions in the Q&A panel. Our team will reply to your queries as soon as possible. Long in short, let us kickstart the event. We hope you enjoy the sharing from our keynote speakers.
Hey everyone, welcome to our webinar. Our topic is 2022 Journey Towards 5D BIM. Before we get started, let us introduce our keynote speakers. First, we have Mr. Upo Shanta, Mr. Frank Chui, me myself, Mr. Ang Chen Tern, and Mr. Samim Ahmad Laskar. Let us welcome Mr. Frank and Mr. Upo.
Good day, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar today. This is Frank Chui on behalf of Glodon Business Development Team. Today, I see a lot of friends from Dubai, India, Sri Lanka, Qatar, South Africa, and some friends from Australia. Welcome all of you. Glad to meet all of you here. The topic I want to share is 5D BIM and digital transformation. First of all, please give me 7 minutes to introduce Glodon, the mother company of CubiCost. Some of you know us well, but I believe some may be the first time to hear about Glodon and CubiCost. We are a digital building platform service provider focusing on BIM products and platforms for AEC markets. Up to now, we have around 9,000 employees with more than 80 global subsidiaries and branches. We have 6 R&D centers, 3 in China, 1 in America, 1 in Finland, and 1 in Poland. We believe the strong R&D team can ensure that we have the capability to deliver the best technology for you. Up now, we have 190 granted patents on BIM technology, and our products service more than 6 million projects all over the world. Here from the chart, you can see Glodon business revolves around the whole building life cycle from design, tendering, to construction and maintenance stage. Our key technologies include, but not limited to BIM, Building Information Modeling, CIM, City Information Modeling for Smart City Solutions, IoT, Internet of Things, Big Data Analysis, AI, Artificial Intelligence, Cloud Technology, etc. Digital Building is a platform that Glodon has released to promote the industrial transformation and upgrading through information technologies, including BIM, cloud computing, big data, IoT, mobile technology, and AI. Relying on the advanced theories and method about a lean construction, it integrates personal processes, data, technology, and business systems together to make the whole life cycle a digital building. The digital building is represented by new design, new construction, and new operation and maintenance. So digital building is what we believe. It is now happening and the future for our construction industry. And the obvious advantage values that the digital building platform can bring to us we think like the more income, higher speed, better quality, and less cost. Of course, there's also other benefits that we can explore by ourselves. Today, all sectors are talking about the digital transformation, no matter you are a big enterprise or small company. And we all know that digital transformation is inevitable for today's business. The construction industry is one of the largest industries in the world, but it is still one of the least digitized sectors. We are constantly being considered laggards when it comes to the technology adoption. Until today, some of us still insist on some old and very inefficient tools. So we can see the construction industry still has a long journey to digital transformation. What is digital transformation in your understanding? I think it is the integration of the digital technologies into all areas of our business. So it is fundamentally changing how you operate and deliver the values to the customers. Of course, it is also a culture change that requires our organizations to continually challenge the current status of the team, to start the experiments, and to get more comfortable with the shining things and with the failures. We live in an era where the technology is helping business make breakthroughs. And COVID-19 makes the digital transformation more imperative than before. We should open our arms for new technologies. The technology is for everybody. It moves business exponentially, and it provides the solutions in times of need. Let's talk about the digital building platform. It changed our enterprise management from the traditional IT to the DT, the data technology. So generating the data, taking the data, analyze the data to support our final decisions. The big data is taking our construction industries to a new higher level. But maybe, we want to know how we can start the digital transformation. In my mind, I think we can divide it into 3 steps to ensure the safe and the practical evolution. The first of all, it should be the digitalization of the positions and the projects. So after that, we can upgrade to the enterprise level digital platform. And after accumulating enough data, then we can do the data analysis and management. And finally, the big data analysis can help us improve our lean management and support our top decision making. CubiCost is an international leading 5D BIM solution that empower your project tender and construction stage. It is the great tool for our quality service, and also it is an excellent platform for project quantity and cost management. In my mind, 5D BIM is the easiest and the best part for the data generation as the start for your enterprise digital transformation. Later, you can learn more information on this from our technical manager. JSite is another solution from Gloden. It is for the smart project site management. It is very popular in China and Europe market. At this platform, all the BIM modelings used for the smart project management are generated from CubiCost. And the digitalization is not only for the project modeling, but also for all the elements and activities at the project site, like the people, the machine, the material, the technology, the method, the environmental monitoring. So all the data relevant should be picked up and submit to the platform. Then after we can accumulating enough data, Then we could have better project coordination and big data analysis, finally to support our top decision making. Here are some projects testimony with the adoption of Global digital building platforms. You can see some high-rise building and airport projects. At the last part, I want to see, no matter we like it or not, the technology is changing the construction industry very fast. No one can stop the trend. Our past performance doesn't guarantee our future success. We should stay young for shining things. We should stay young for new technologies. Time is a passage that can separate the adopters and those who won't. Future is not just for the young, but also for the young minds. So I want to see never be late to start or to learn. Never to see we are too busy to learn new things. So start your 5D BIM journey. Maybe it is one small step for our quality service, but it is really a great giant step for our enterprise to stay top in the fast market competition. That's all from my part. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Good afternoon from Sri Lanka. Today, the topic is BIM implementation for quantity surveys. I will talk under 4 sections about this topic. First, I will talk about BIM environment in Sri Lanka. This is because I have to give you some background about the talk. And then I will talk about how the 5D BIM implementation helping the Sri Lankan construction industry and the quantity survey practices in Sri Lanka. Thirdly, I will talk about how individual quantity surveyors start BIM process and the project implementation process. And finally, I would like to conclude what are the skills we need to work on for BIM enabled environment for quantity surveyors. So to start from BIM environment in Sri Lanka, I'll give you a little bit of background about the Sri Lankan construction industry related to BIM environment. First of all, there is no regulatory requirement in Sri Lanka or the initiative from regulators to enable BIM environment in Sri Lanka. But we have found recently there is younger professionals, architects, engineers, and especially quantity surveyors are very enthusiastic to implement BIM and work in BIM environment. I must say less than 10 companies have capability to implement BIM as a projects, and out of that, only 3 to 4 companies has a capability to implement BIM as a process. BIM awareness is increasing, but it requires a lot of resources such as trainers, softwares, employers' willingness of the professional companies for BIM it, which is lacking at the moment. QS professionals relatively have more BIM awareness due to initiatives taken by Institute of Quantity Surveyors Sri Lanka and the exposure of quantity surveyors to the global construction market. So architects and engineers issue 2D drawings, and QS professionals use 2D drawings to complete their cost management services, including post-contract services. One important distinction in Sri Lankan construction industry is mainly the Sri Lankan projects are on traditional procurement system, remeasured type of contracts, and now we find design and build implementation is gaining momentum in Sri Lanka. Moving on, how the 5D BIM implementation for quantity surveyors helps the industry. In the absence of front-end players like architects and engineers providing 3D BIM model and the documentation, the quantity surveyors ability have been hampered due to non-existence of 5D BIM software in recent past. But recently, 5D BIM softwares implemented in Sri Lanka, and softwares like Glodon, CubiCost software, where ability of Glodon CubiCost software to create a quantity surveying model for project from 2D drawings is commendable, and I see the 5D quantity surveying softwares working in Sri Lanka has always the capability of making 3D BIM models take directly to their cost model and take off quantities. But the countries like Sri Lanka, where the BIM is lacking, the BIM process is lacking, where the 2D drawings are the main source of documentation, then the ability of CubiCost software to generate 3D model from 2D drawing is very much important, and it increases the BIM awareness among other professionals. While the quantity surveys are engaged in 3D models, other professionals also now get to know about the process of BIM with this introduction. It improves the application of value for money concept through this QS BIM implementation. Like cost management services always have to do value engineering proposals, evaluate value engineering proposals, and give the clients the best value for money. Where now with the models, QS software models, where we can the quantity surveys can real time give the assess the value engineering proposals and give the clients a benefit of choosing alternatives. Also, it improves the post-contract cost management functions like subcontracting, payment applications, variations, change management, and final accounts also. Use of the same model throughout the pre-contract and the post-contract improves trackable documentation, which helps the final presentation of contractual claims and post claims during the later stage, because data is already embedded in this trackable documentation. Therefore, in recent introduction of Glodon CubiCost software to Sri Lankan market has acted as a catalyst for BIM awareness in Sri Lanka. So moving on, how individual QS should start the BIM process in the QS services. The journey to become a BIM-enabled quantity surveying professional starts from the learning 5D BIM software, such as CubiCost software suite. It will give the quantity surveyor the skill of developing the 3D model, for the project. Data handling and pricing using TBQ platform, and use of revision and segmentation functions during the post-contract project implementation to process the change management and interim valuation and final accounts. If we talk about implementation of the project, traditionally it starts from inception to the final accounts. Of course, there are new concepts of end of life cycle also, but we in Sri Lanka we talked only about from inception to final accounts. The QS's journey for a project quantity surveying services also starts from inception to final accounts in the similar fashion. During the initial stage, as everybody knows, QS quantity surveyor had to prepare a cost plan based on budget using parameter volumetric data. At this stage, the CubiCost software enables quantity surveyor can create the 3D model with the scheme design. And some of the details you might have to, as a quantity surveyor from your QS background, you have to use some of the details and generate from those model. If you generate the quantities, and you will be able to prepare your cost plan. Of course, you have to have a data through the analysis, cost analysis data has to be there for pricing your model. After the scheme design, of course, the project won't stop. What will happen is project always we have changes in the design, adding more details, receiving more and more update, and definitely we have to do the update in the cost plan number 1 we have proposed. So if we use the same model which was used for the cost plan number 1 and work on the details with the revision function, those more the QS can track most of the changes, maybe area changes, maybe increasing the number of columns. Everything is can track by the quantity surveyor, and he can justify his second revision easily, because sometimes we find it is really difficult to identify the changes done at the initial stages by the architects and engineers. If we have this track from the original design to this design easily identified by the model, is then we can justify our quantity surveying cost plan, the revision easily. That is, I think, one of the major advantages we are facing, we are using at the moment to justify our cost plan number 1 to cost plan number 2, what are the improvements, and number 3, so on. During the detailed design stage, the QS can update the same cost model, adding further details, finishes, door and window schedules, and prepare quantity schedules using TAC and TRB. While BOQ can be done using TBQ software, and the pricing and the e-tendering also possible with TBQ Cloud. So finally, once you tender and once you get the final award, of course, you can discuss with the contractor, discuss with the project managers, and share your completed cost model, QS model, with the contractor to update throughout the process of project post-contract management. But of course, one thing to note that the engineer issued drawings are the legal base contractual requirement even in Sri Lanka for contractual matters, not the quantity surveyors model, even though both parties agreed for management of the post-contract works. So that's everybody had to mindful. At the post-contract stage, the contractor's QS and the consultant QS can use the agreed model for valuation of variations, subcontract payments, interim valuation, and finally the final account using the same updated model. This improves the efficiency of quantity surveying services, as there is no duplication of measurements, because throughout the process, every time we use at least two to three types of measurements for material ordering, subcontract payments. But if you are using the same model with the segmentation functions and the revision functions, we use the same, that allows the quantity surveyors to use the same model and complete the post-contract duties. So quantity surveying professionals and companies should adjust their cost databases and how they really use those cost databases, how they collect the cost analysis data in this BIM environment. Finally, I'd like to touch a little bit on the future BIM-enabled quantity survey skills required. Creating our own model for costing is not that easy task without knowing the construction technology, especially in the case of drawings without required details or without information. Then the quantity surveys had to do some initiative to do some initiative around the construction technology to create their own model. Therefore, all quantity surveyors should be aware that construction technology is one of the mandatory basic skill for BIM-enabled environment like Sri Lanka. Once you create own model for your project, the project won't stop. It starts changing. These changes are very fast and requires adjustment faster than the way we are working today. So the skill of working in 3D environment needs to be excelled by the future QSs, where they need more and more practice working with the software. I think training and working more and more with the detailed software skills is necessary for working efficiently on the 3D model. Also, I find limited customization in BIM softwares is, as per the project needs, are becoming more and more common. This is because the unique nature of construction industry and also the ever enhancement of software and hardware capabilities. The future QS should be able to do customization of BIM softwares. Even CubiCost will come to that. And it is like today we customize Excel with macros. We customize Excel and get some of the features out of the Excel like that. Fair knowledge on software writing, coding is essential for BIM enabled quantity surveys in future. 3D BIM modeling is also one of the areas QS should also be excelled, as other 3D BIM softwares is necessary and is one of the necessity for quantity surveyors to have the skills. So QS need always to do changes to the model to suit our cost model. So therefore, this also improves the skill of navigational and understanding the 3D models by the quantity surveyors. Also, I find QS professionals and directors of the QS companies and the construction companies should understand the whole process we are working today normally are going to change. The way we used to work around is changing. In this environment, we need to understand the workflows, data flows, adjust the work environment to suit the BIM-enabled data flow and the workflows. The data flow also we have to readjust and move to the BIM-enabled environment. Finally, embracing 5D BIM by quantity surveyors will improve the efficiency in quantity surveying services as well as construction industry from inception to final account. Once improve the efficiency, that benefit will flow to the stakeholders, especially the employees, employers, and the construction industry, all the stakeholders. So finally, I wish all and everyone success in managing the change to BIM-enabled working environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Upol and Mr. Frank. Those were some interesting topics that you have shared. Now, without further ado, let us continue with our webinar. So 5D BIM, digital cost management, is about three main things. First is about intelligence, second is about visualization, and third is about interconnection. From 2D until 3D to 4D and finally up to 5D, every stage has their own descriptions. For example, 2D is mainly just based on documentation, 3D is more on three-dimensional model, and then 4D is planning, and 5D is about cost and estimation. So here in 5D BIM, we will introduce on how our software can do costing and estimation. For our software, we have mainly these few products. So this series is called CubiCost, and the few products that we have here, they are called TAS, TRB, TME, TBQ, and also eTender. So on the left, you can see there are three software here. So TS, TRB, and TME, they are the software to take off architectural and structure, TRB for rebar, TME for mechanical and engineering and plumbing. TBQ and eTender is for costing, for example, like preparing the bill of quantities, and also eTender. So our software can help you in both pre-contract and also post-contract stages. For example, in pre-contract, we have pre-design, we have costing, tendering. Each of those situations, we have prepared this slide to show you how our software can be implemented to prepare all of these. So no matter you're in the pre-contract or post-contract stages, you can utilize all of the software. Now, TS is the leader of the 5D BIM quantity takeoff era, and its main calculation business is architectural and structure. So for the past 10 years, it is widely praised for its built-in local calculation rules, efficient modeling, and integration of quantity and model. So my partner, Samim, will take over from here. So I'm going to pass it to you, Samim.
Good. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Ang, for such a good start with a great introduction. So let me start with the objective. A quick rundown of the topics for today's webinar. Let's get started with 5D BIM. So who is using 5D BIM? That's the first topic for today. Then we're going to look at implementation of 5D BIM in tendering stages as well as in the construction stage. Finally, we'll conclude with your opportunity of getting involved and becoming a digital hero in construction. So to start with, let's look at an overview of construction digitalization. So who is using 5D BIM? Right, this slide shows a comparison between different ways of working using design and quantity takeoff, quantity surveying software in general, and then it provides an analogy to understand where we stand. Of course, with the evolution of BIM, changes in various tasks are quite inevitable. So we compare the traditional pen and paper method of working with 2D software. The analogy is quite normal. It's just a normal cordless telephone versus a slide phone where you have, obviously it's kind of better, if not the best. But then from a point, we started developing the idea of digitalization in tools and process, in particular in construction industry. So with construction 4.0 industrial revolution, which is the current industrial revolution, we can see a widespread adoption of BIM in projects. And this is like a smartphone, which is not just limited to making calls, but in many other day-to-day applications, we can use the smartphone. I'm sure that none of us in the room would disagree on the fact that we have a better life using smartphone versus a phone with buttons in it. It's also based on the fact that the traditional method of working versus the 2D based software, which is AutoCAD for design or any other 2D software, takeoff software in the market, is a big difference, which we can realize from the fact that now we are using AutoCAD and many 2D takeoff tools for quantity surveying. But then comes the BIM-based software, which on one hand, for design, we are using Revit, and then we have CubiCost for quantity surveying, all the quantity takeoff and cost estimation, all interconnected platform. So here comes, the analogy becomes a smartphone, which is not just limited to a particular function, but you can do literally many other activities in an interconnected platform. And we will dive in more in details as we move along with regards to the functionalities and how it actually helps us. Okay, so here's a list of clients of CubiCost. To name a few, we got consultants like ACOM, Arcadis, Ryder Levitt Bucknell, Shapoorji, contractors like Samsung CNT, Shimizu, China State Construction, Obayashi. Then we have developers such as Godrej, Surbanajaram, Sina Group, and many more. This also shows our presence in pretty much every corner of the world. Okay, so this slide shows a testimony from one of our users, Alarmor Engineering Consultants in Oman. This is a 80 million OMR project in Oman, where the client used our system for quantity takeoff and cost estimation throughout the project. And this is their comments on the entire process. And we will, as we move along, we'll actually get to see how the software is going to save us a lot of time, how efficient it is, and how accurately we can do the quantity takeoff and all of these different benefits that we will be able to see. So this is one of the case studies. Okay. Well, here's another one. So we have another consultant, ARQS. In this project, they have used CubiCost system as well. So the value of the project is 200 million rupees. And here's the endorsement that we can see from the user. With that, we move to the second topic for today. So implement 5D BIM in tender stage. In general, we all seem to be reluctant up to a certain limit when it comes to technology, and we tend to find plenty of reasons for that. But when push comes to shove, we rush for changes. So it's a time where we should identify the areas where disruption is needed and save time for a better outcome. So let's move on. Okay, so over here we can see that this is kind of an overview of all the takeoff tools and how it works. From the file formats to the model, it's inherently intuitive. So when we have a CAD drawing or a vector PDF, the software identifies all the elements from the drawing itself and automatically builds up the BIM model. When we have a hard copy or scanned PDF file drawing, then all we need to do is just define and trace the elements to generate a BIM model out of it. And then if we have a BIM model already, a Revit or an IFC file, it could be a federated or a single model, all we need to do is just import the file, check the element properties, and then we can straightaway proceed to the quantities just by one click to do the calculation. And then different types of quantity reports can be produced out of the software. So the software automatically applies the rules in it in order to generate the quantity reports out of it. Again, we are leading in the industry when it comes to collaboration and compatibility with different well-known file formats. Autodesk being our R&D partner, paving the way for us to make sure our products is user-friendly and compatible. So we are certified by Building Smart, which is an international standardization body for Open BIM. And so we support popular file formats like Revit, BIM model, IFC BIM model, which stands for Industrial Foundation Class. That's from Building Smart, as I mentioned. To be very honest, once you have a BIM model with information fed in it, it's going to help you throughout the construction lifecycle. Using a virtual model during the design stage, we can verify design at very, very early stage of the project, which can save us a lot of time and expense by speeding up the process of design changes. Obviously, in every project, we tend to have a lot of design changes. What we noticed and realized is that the lack of cooperation and difficulty of sharing information, these are the major reasons for the communication issues during an entire project lifecycle. So our system makes sure that in a BIM environment, the mostly commonly used BIM files are compatible, which is like a Revit model, by making sure that there is seamless cooperation with the upstream BIM model, for instance, the design team. So you can 100% import a Revit file with no data loss whatsoever, and then you can proceed with the lifecycle BIM management throughout the lifecycle of the project, as you can see from the design to tendering to construction and then handover and operation stage. So here we're going to find out the simple steps involved in doing the modeling and QS modeling, and then how to do the quantification and then produce BOQ reports out of it. So to get the quantity takeoff and cost estimation done in the most explicit way, we introduce you Revit model quantity takeoff. So what we realize is that we don't need to deal with non-proprietary file formats like IFC, where we need to ascertain which building elements are mapped for an export. So using a Revit design model, as you can see on the screen, our system provides you with not only the takeoff of all the elements, but also helps in live connect quantities with the BOQ. So the Revit model import is quite simple. All you need to do is just go to the BIM model and browse through the local directory and find out the model, and then settle up the floor levels. Just make sure that the elements are getting imported with their respective properties. And then we just choose a location to place the model in, just in case, if you have different models, so you can place them at different locations based on the master plan. And then we can proceed with having a look at different settings like grade settings. If you'd like to change this, for instance, the concrete grade of a particular element, whether it's substructure or superstructure elements, you can do that. And then you can proceed with different other setups there. When it comes to dealing with the errors in a particular model, and this is where everything gets interesting, because being a Revit modeler, you may have different kind of errors with regards to overlapping. So in that case, the software actually determines where are those errors and allows you to trim out the extra areas. So from the model check result, we can see that there are different errors with regards to overlapping or extensions. So the software has a powerful function called auto process, by which it trims out the extra layer. And again, it asks you permission if you'd like to do that or not. You can set different setups there. And then we have the quantities right here after doing the calculation. Now, once we have the quantities ready with us, then it's about live linking these quantities with our BOQ. So the BOQ is inside of a software called TBQ. So TBQ is tender estimation and pricing software. Out here in TBQ, you can have a built-up BOQ already, or you can import a BOQ, whether it's in Excel or PDF, a scan PDF. And then all you need to do is, because both the software, takeoff software and the estimation software are connected together, all you need to do is you just feed the quantity information to the respective bill item. So you can have a reflection of the actual BOQ from the TBQ to the task software, as we can see on the screen. And then we can just drag and drop the quantities from the model to the BOQ. And as soon as we do that, there is a function for check-in and check-out, which would basically send these informations to our estimation software. And if you'd like to apply any factor to any of these quantities to increase, the quantity, you can do that. There's a powerful function which is reversely checked. We saw that before as well. From the BOQ itself, you'll be able to get to see where exactly the quantities are coming from the model. So now that we have the quantities fed into the BOQ, now if we switch to our estimation software TBQ and get to see the quantities over there with the details, we can see that who as a QS attached that quantity to that bill item and at what time, with every kind of details out there. And also it shows with the sign that the quantities came from task software, which is takeoff architecture and structure. We can also do manual quick calculations and feed into different bill items, just in case if there are some bill items which we have to do some manual calculations, we can quickly do that. We can apply formulas, different functions, just like what we do in Excel. And then we can do some sort of manual typing as well if you'd like to add up some quantities in a particular bill item. So these all functions are available, and it's quite flexible when it comes to edits and modifications. And then we get to the actual BOQ preview, where we get to see that all these quantities that we have just fed in are actually getting reflected into the actual report. And we can put in a logo on the top of it if we are consultant, and then we can start providing the different details into the header and footer, the page numberings, and all of this kind of different settings are there. And then finally, when we have the BOQ ready with us, if we are a contractor, we feed in the rate and the amount is already there, and then we can do the printing directly from here. So now we have the PDF BOQ with all the details in it. That's from the Glodden CubiCost, the whole system of how we connect the quantities with the BOQ and live link both of them. So because the model is connected with the BOQ, what happens is that when we make any changes in the model, that gets reflected into the BOQ automatically. So that's automated. All right, so 3D modeling from scan PDF or JPEG file. So over here we can see that inside of our CubiCost task software, we can quickly create a project and select our rules of measurements. And just by pressing OK, we have created a new project. Now, in this particular slide that we're looking at different file formats such as PDF or scan picture copy of your drawing. How do you deal with those files like JPEG or PDF? So first of all, if you look at the measurement settings and measurement rules, we get to see that different rules are being already inbuilt in the software, which are coming from the method of measurement that we have chosen while initiating the project. Over here on floor settings, we can basically set up different levels of a particular building and different grade settings that we looked up before. Now, if you proceed with any kind of file formats that I mentioned, that it could be a picture file, a picture drawing. So if we have imported a JPEG drawing, what we tend to do is we go ahead with scaling the drawing first, because obviously for the most part it's not scaled. And the scaling process is quite simple. It's just the same as any other CAD software in the market. So if you proceed with the correct scale, then the drawing is pretty much set for building up the beam model and proceeding with the calculation. So next step, we are gonna go ahead with one particular element. Let's say if we are just concentrating on column. So if we do column, then in this particular scenario, because we have a picture, not really a good quality picture, but bad quality picture, let's say the drawing. So what we tend to do is we just create a particular type of column, that's a C1 in here, and we start placing them in their respective position on the drawing. And there are different functions to actually snap that particular location as well. You can snap that particular point where the column needs to be placed. Just to save time, we actually place the other columns over here. So if we proceed with the next element as beam, we can do the same. We just create a beam, provide some informations like its width, height, and then we can directly start placing the beam in its position. So it's as simple as just dragging that particular point from the beam from one point to another point, and it just got placed. So all you need to do is just create those types of beams and then place it in their respective position. By the way, while we are doing the modeling, in the background, the software is making sure that all the calculations are getting applied. So if you press calculate, the calculation result would pop would be available with us. So to save time, we also did this lab quite quickly. And over here, we can see that all the elements of beam, elements of slab and columns are in place. So what we're gonna do is next, we're gonna run the quick copy floors. So by doing so, we can copy those two different floors. And what happens with that function is that it saves up a lot of time, because for the most part, the structural elements are more or less same on different floors, except for the size changes. If you'd like to do that, you can then switch to the next floor and make changes. That's quite user friendly and easier. So in this particular slide, we're looking at 3D modeling from a CAD and vector PDF drawing. So a CAD drawing and a vector PDF, which is basically a CAD drawing converted to PDF. So to proceed with automated quantity takeoff, we will have a quick look at how the system works. So over here, we can see that on our working space, we don't have any drawing yet. So we're going to import some drawings from our browse directory, and then we have these floor plans here. So what we're going to do is we're going to let the software do a auto identification of elements from the 2D drawing and build up the beam model for us. So we just splitted the part of the drawing that we would like to use for the first beam modeling. We can split out the drawings as many times as we want, depending on which part of the drawing that we are using, or depending on the floors that we are working at. And then the function of auto identifications are right here. So all we need to do is just perform 3 simple steps. We pick the sideline of the particular element that we are identifying. So here, for instance, we are identifying the axis grid. So we just picked up the axis grid and the level of axis grid, and by auto identification function, here our axis grid in place. So by 3 simple steps, we can generate any of the elements that we want. For instance, here, if we just proceed with one of the structural elements like column identification. So we're gonna have a look at how the software automatically identify the 2D lines and build up the 3D model for us and do the calculations for us as well. So over here, we can see that there are different functions, but 3 particular functions that we'll be using just like before what we did. So you're gonna go ahead and select the column, and then we proceed with the first step, which is picking up the sideline of column. Then we proceed with the next step, which is picking up the tags or levels of those columns, and then proceed to the third step, which is just auto identify. Now, what happened along with this process is that the software identified the 2D lines and built up the 3D model from there. So these are the columns in place, as we can see. So from the 2D drawing, whether it's CAD drawing or it's a vector PDF drawing, the software would identify those 2D lines and build up the 3D model for us for any kind of elements. So now that we have our column, if we proceed to our a couple of more elements like beam and slab, it's just the same 3 simple steps. And for slab, you can select, you have the option of selecting a particular type of slab that you would like to place, or you can make changes with respect to their names or their thicknesses. So over here we can see that these are the thicknesses that can be changed, or we can proceed with. So we have the column, we have the beam, we have the slab in place at the moment. All right, so that's pretty much of the 3 structural elements that we just looked at. Now if we proceed to the wall for an architectural element, we can again perform the 3 simple steps, picking up the sideline of whether it's masonry wall or a concrete wall. You can then pick it up. So we are proceeding with masonry wall sideline. We picked up the, we don't have a label for that, but we picked up the doors and windows for walls to make sure that the software knows where are the openings. And then we proceeded with auto identification. And look what happened. We have the wall in place now. So this is the 3D view of our wall. Now, if you go for some openings on the wall, for instance, the door, this software again pulls in information from an Excel file, from a PDF file, a schedule of doors and windows, or from the CAD drawing itself, if you have a schedule inside of the CAD drawing. So here we just picked up a schedule of doors and windows from the CAD drawing, and the software is pulling in all these informations, providing the headings that we have selected, or it automatically identified. And now we can see the identification is done. Just in 2 simple steps, we have all the doors and windows listed with their respective size, with their properties in it from the schedule. Now all we need to do is just identify the levels of those doors and windows, so the software knows their position from our previous step. Now if you proceed with auto identification, the software identifies those openings of doors and windows, place them in their position with their respective sizes. Really, really powerful tool. And then if we go ahead with structural elements like lintel, there is a quite intelligent function of auto identification which automatically places the lintels in their respective position. And let's have a look at that. So we proceed with some properties like width and length and the extension that you want on each side of the lintel. And then all we need to do is just select the entire drawing and right click for confirmation for that particular set of condition. And the software would place that particular lintel that we created on the top of all the openings out there. So it is a matter of just selecting the drawing and pressing OK. So now when it comes to complex items, such as staircase or finishes of a particular building, how do we deal with that? So in this slide, we will be able to have a quick look at how we deal with staircases in general. And then we will also have a look at how to do the finishes of a particular building. If we just create a staircase, just the way that we did before for any other element, there are multiple functions available with you. So we will just proceed with the basic functions, which are like, you providing informations related to the riser and tread, and for the thickness of landing and width of landing. And then the software knows how the model should look like. All you need to do is just trace the positions of the steps by simple clicks, and the software is going to place the steps in their respective position. But what's interesting to look at is the software actually creates the landing automatically. The shape of the landing and how far it should cover, that depends on the properties that you have provided before. But the mid landing and the floor landing are being created by the software. So it's really, really intelligent function there. And once you're done with that, you can actually edit that particular staircase if you'd like to have some sort of shape on the corner. And if you'd like to, change some of these elements shape, like if you'd like to provide some more railings as as an example. So we just select, okay, we would like to have railings on all the sides. If you'd like to get rid of the beams or change the size of beams, all these informations are available inside of that function. Now, if we proceed with the finishes, we go to our different rooms, and there is this particular function in the software which we have just selected the room. What the software does is that it takes care of every kind of finishes that should be applied to a particular room. So now, all you need to do is just for a particular room, you assign the wall finishes, you assign the skirting, you assign the floor finishes, the ceiling, and it takes care of all the edges in the corner of, let's say, the beam or column, which is coming along with wall. If that's a wall opening, the software would consider that and deduct that area in terms of the wall finishes. Now, in this particular case, we're going to import a schedule of finishes. If you have it in Excel, if you have it in CAD or in PDF, we can deal with every kind of format. So now you can go ahead and just select that particular file of schedule of finishes. Now we are using here an Excel file. And as you can see that on the top, we have the heading. So we tend to get rid of some of those. You can delete the row, you can delete the column if they are not useful. And then you just have to make sure that all the finishes are in place with respect to their heading. So the software knows exactly which finishes are getting imported. Now, if you press identify, the software identifies all the finishes with their respective rooms. So you can see that different rooms got imported, and with their rooms on the right side, we can see that the attached finishes are also there. So these all attached finishes got imported from the Excel schedule of finishes that we have. Now it's a matter of just clicking on different rooms to apply those finishes. Just in one click, the software is going to place all of these finishes for a particular room in that particular room. So let's have a look. So we just click here, and that is it. It's been applied there. Now, if we go to the next room, we just switch to the next room, which is our maid room. We then go to maid room, place it there. We have then maid toilet, so we're going to go ahead and do that as well. Now, if we turn it into 3D view, what to see and check is the placement of those finishes, and you can see that the wall finishes considered all the sides and edges and openings, and then you have the skirting right there, and then you have the floor finishes. Now, let's have a look at an non-enclosed area. The previous function was applicable for the enclosed area, which is enclosed by a wall. But if you have an unenclosed area, and you try to apply that finishes, you can see that it goes beyond the line that you want. Let's say we just want to apply finishes for this particular room. So there is a really, really useful tool, which is separation line. And what it does is that it creates an invisible boundary, which doesn't have any quantity in it, but it makes sure that the areas are separated now. So we can apply a particular set of, or just one type of finishes in one particular area, and then we can apply another set of finishes on another side. As you can see, I just applied for this particular area, the wet kitchen, and you can see that this is the result. But for this area, we're going to go ahead and place another type of finishes as an example. So this is how we can actually separate our finishes. We can place different finishes at different positions. And to add to that, more so, we can actually deal with different shapes and sizes. We can split those items and create different other shapes as well. Okay, so now let's have a look at the collaboration when it comes to modeling. Now, we're going to have a look at how to copy entities to different areas and different floors. If you'd like to copy some of these elements to different locations, providing that two buildings are similar, how are we going to do that? Or if you would like to just place it in the opposite direction, how do we deal with all of these rotate functions and copy functions and stuff like that in 3D model, by the way. So you can directly copy and paste the elements, all of them, to another part. And this is how we copy the entities of this particular model. And then if you would like to copy it into another place also, you can just, it's all about just copy and paste. and then you have ground floor, looks quite a huge building, you know, two buildings right next to each other of the same shape, just by copying these elements from one place to another. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy all the elements of this particular floor of ground floor to different other floors. So in this particular example, we're just considering that these floors are typical floors. So what the software is doing is basically copying all the elements that we have modeled so far in ground floor to all other floors that we have. But as I mentioned before, you know, we can switch to different other floors and make changes as it requires. If we just start on the whole building just to have a 3D view of it, you can see that all these works can be done very quickly if you have typical floors, but even if you have different other shapes or sizes, you can make changes by switching different floors. All right, so we looked at the modeling part. Now let's proceed with the quantification of different elements and how do we extract the quantities and produce some reports out of it. So before we move to the quantities and reports, you know, we have to proceed with calculations. So we're going to do the calculations very quickly. How it works is that it basically follows the same principle as I mentioned before. Depending on the measurement settings, the software is going to calculate and apply those rules with regards to, you know, which quantity supersedes which quantities, or in, you know, when it comes to deductions, for instance, as an example. So over here, if you just press calculate, the software would calculate whether you'd like to do the calculation for a floor or the whole building. You can get it done. And then we have the quantity view option, which is view quantity by category. And over here, we can see that it's a complete set of customizable catalogs available on the left side, which allows us to categorize quantities with different conditions, different filter options, division, etc. You know, selecting different conditions or calculations that we want, and then we can directly export it into Excel. As we can see, the function is available there. Then when it comes to looking through all of these different quantities, you know, as an example, in a particular case, if you did the calculations, then you're going through the quantities, and it's kind of a little bit trickier to understand which quantity is exactly from where. So there is a really useful tool available with us, which is reversely check function. What it does is that you just select a quantity and just press reversely check, and it takes you back to the model, shows you exactly from where that particular quantity came from. Let's say we selected another column quantity here, press reversely check, and here it is. And then we have another function to check the calculation result, or how did the calculation took place inside of the software. That is view expression function, by which it really breaks it down to the, you know, calculation of length, area, volume with various details and their you know, numerical values. So you can actually get to see every detail of the calculation that happened inside of the software. And if you'd like to make any kind of changes, obviously you are always free to do that by going back to the measurement settings and change the settings. Now, if you select a wall, what's interesting to notice here is that it not only gives you the you know, breakdown of the calculation, but also it allows you to have a visual you know, confirmation of the calculation that is happening. But it's kind of useful for documentation or kind of visual presentation purposes. At this point, you can see that this is the whole quantity of wall. There's a deduction for doors, deductions for windows, there are deductions for lintels as well. So by all of these deductions, the software arrived at a point where it calculated quantities for just this shape, and this is what the quantities that we just saw inside of our report. All right, so this slide in particular looks at a complete interconnected quantity takeoff and cost estimation platform. So that's provided by CubiCost. And so to get an overview of how the complete system works, we can see on the left side 3 takeoff tools such as TAS, which stands for takeoff architecture and structure. Then we have the TRB, which is for rebar, which is what we're going to look at now. And then we have the TME, which is for MEP, which we will look at in a while. And these tools basically do the quantification using the BIM model, as we saw, and then it produces the quantities. And what we tend to do is we connect both the estimation and takeoff software together in order to produce the BIM costing part, which is again connected to the e-tender platform, the tendering evaluation, receiving tenders, doing comparison, and finalizing bid, and all of these different kind of activities can be done in the e-tender platform, which is connected with the BOQ of the TBQ. Okay, so let's proceed with TRB, which stands for takeoff for rebar. So over here, we will be looking at a 3D modeling, which can be shared between TAS and TRB. The model that we have just built up in TAS, we're going to use the same model in TRB, in other words. So on the screen, we are looking at TAS software. We have built up this BIM model. We can export the model, and there is a native format within CubiCost, which is called Qubit format, by which the software allows you to share model within the suite of software of CubiCost, TAS or TRB or TME. And now that we have the model ready, now we open up the TRB software, which is takeoff for rebar, as I mentioned, and we're gonna just import that particular cubic model inside of our TRB software. All right, so here's the result. We have the BIM model with all the different details that we built up in TAS. We have the slab, we have the beam and column. Now let's proceed with column. All we need to do is just select the type of column, which let's see one as an example here. You can simply manually put in the main bar information, the stirrups information, and if there are links, all of these different bar informations can be directly input in the properties, and just run the calculation and get the result. And you can see the visual representation of the rebar and how they are basically arranged for a particular element. So we did that for one column. In many cases, you have same type of rebar information for different columns. So there is a function for synchronization as well. You can synchronize the same information over to different other columns as well. Now, if we proceed with BIM, what we tend to do is we can, there are different approaches available within the software, including the manual one. But then we have a really, really short method, which is the BIM rebar information schedule. If we have that schedule, then we import that particular schedule, and the software would identify all this information. In other words, it will pull in those informations from the schedule. The schedule could be in CAD format or in Excel format, as I mentioned before. And then over here, you can select which column represents which rebar. So we're looking at the top bar, we're looking at the bottom bar, the side bars, and the stirrups and the links. So once that's been done, what we can do is we can just proceed with identification just by simply clicking on generate a BIM schedule. The software is going to identify all these informations, and it will build up a BIM schedule within the software. So now we can see the details of different BIM rebars with regards to their calculations as well on the top. And then this whole setup can be synchronized to our BIM model. Now, as soon as we press the synchronization button, as you can see by pressing on generate BIM, it's gonna feed in all the rebar information inside of our beams. Now, all we need to do is just run the calculation and just have a look at 3D view. We can see the placement of rebars, the side bars, the top bar and bottom bar with their stirrups, and the conditions of stirrups placement having in their position. And you can see in the text view there are different details, and there are rebar informations also with their respective shape and their bend length and everything in details, which is quite useful for bar bending schedule that we can produce also as a report from here. And then you have the details of calculation, the calculation formulas which have been applied there. And if we proceed to the report, as I mentioned just now, you have the rebar schedule here, which works pretty much well for us to proceed with material, ordering materials or future activities. various details are available with regards to the cutting length, bending length, and everything within that bar bending schedule or the rebar schedule. If we proceed with different classification summary, we can get to see that for different elements like wall, lintel, beam, slab, column, quantities which have been calculated by the software for different elements, we can see that the rebar informations are set quite well with different rebar sizes and summary calculated result as well. So that's the total that we can see over there, and you can export it into Excel format as well. So that's pretty much of the rebar information that we can obtain, produce different reports, proceed with the calculation, providing that we have the beam model, or we can generate a beam model inside of the software as well. Now, if we look at the calculation rules, because this is like the question that we all may have in our head, like how the calculations are happening, how do we get to see them? So you can see that there are different calculation rules which are being set up already inside of the software, and it's quite flexible with regards to changes. And this is coming from the region-based, the standards that you're using. So you can see that the green color information that we see here are editable. So for each individual bending or lapping or hook length, stirrups, whatever the conditions that you would like to feed in there with regards to calculation, then you can make changes from there itself. So if we just go as an example to this particular element as in plan view of the end of our bottom of wall rebar, we can then change that value to a particular, let's say a value of 100, a fixed value, instead of applying a particular formula. So once you make the changes, you can see that turned into a yellow color window, which means that we made changes there. And you can probably export it or import a new calculation formula for your future use as well. So that's quite useful when it comes to using similar calculation rules for different projects. With that, I'm going to conclude my part of presentation. The reason of starting with multiple interconnected tools is to draw your attention to how collaborative the whole system is, and to contemplate that. As a matter of fact, we can utilize all these functions of 3D beam modeling or 2D tools available inside of the software for our quantity takeoff and cost estimation in a common platform. So now for the MEP takeoff and other very much interesting topics, I would like to pass it over to Eng. So thank you, everyone. Eng, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Samim. That was a wonderful presentation. From here on, I'm going to take over and we will continue to talk about TME. So again, TME is the software to take off the quantities for mechanical and engineering. So there are a few traits that we have in the software. First one is ACMV. It includes all the ducting, grills, fuses, and piping. And for electrical, of course, we have the lighting, we have switch and socket, we have tray, trunking, etc. And the last one is plumbing and sanitary. Currently in TMEC, we have these three traits. In the future, probably by the end of this year, we will include other services such as firefighting. So how do we model MEP component in our software? So right here, we are going to show you how the software works. The first thing we need to do is to select the major that we need to do. For example, the plumbing, sanitary, electrical, or ECMV. Once the project has loaded, you will enter this interface. And then the next thing that we need to do is to go to our floor settings. Here we can add different areas or zones that we have according to our drawing or project. And then we can add as many floors as we want and change the floor height. Once we have done the settings here, we can proceed to import our drawings. So here I'm going to use some CAD drawings, and this will be based on ACMV. So for this particular drawing, we might have some trouble viewing all of the items that we want to see, because usually in MEP drawing, it is very complicated or very confusing to see all of the items. For example, we have so many walls, columns, or so many items here. So what we can do in this software is that we can hide or unhide any CAD lines that we want to see or do not want to see. So I'm going to show you how. First, we can go and select by color or by layer. Then we select the items that we want to see. For example, the items here and the labels and all of the information as well. Then we can just proceed and click Display CAD Entity. And now the drawing will only show the layer that we have selected. Once we have done this step, we can proceed to identify our items. So let's try with our equipment first. So for example, from here we can try to identify our equipment by using this function. We can first pick the device. We select the legend of the equipment. Do not miss out any information. Then once we have confirmed the legend, we can pick the system text as well, so that the software knows which text is for the equipment. Then with just a few clicks, you can see that the software has already identified a few dozen of the equipment. Then we just click Auto Identify, and then the software has finished identifying all of the equipment with a similar legend on this drawing. So maybe some of us, we want to double check if we have identified everything correctly. In our software, we have a function called brightness. We can adjust the brightness at the bottom here. Then from here, it is very easy for us to double check if the items have been identified clearly or not. So as you can see from here, all of these are the equipment that we have identified so far. Okay, so let's try the next one. Let's try to identify some air grills. So I'm going to switch back the brightness of the drawing. And from here, you can see we have different sizes of air grill. One is a bigger air grill, another is with a smaller size. And I'm going to go to my air grill element, and I'm going to create the attribute editor for both of them. So let's take, for instance, this is AG1 and AG2, and I'm going to change different colors for each of them. And now I'm going to proceed to click device, and then same thing, I just pick the legend. Then I can just click on identify, and you can see from here, the software has identified there are 39 air grill in this drawing. So I'm going to do the same for the other air grill. Again, with just a few clicks, we have finished identifying both the sizes of this air grill. Now, the next thing that we need to identify here should be air duct. So let's click on air duct, and there are a few ways to identify the air ducts here. First one is by using a double line. Double line is fairly straightforward. We just need to select the labels and both of the lines, then we can get the air ducts. And you can see there are also two red lines here. These are the supports which hold all of the air ducts together on top of the ceiling. Okay, so from here, you can also see there is an orange item right here. I'm going to show you in 3D. The software has automatically generated this fitting because first we have identified the equipment, correct? So once the software has detected that we have an item on top, it will automatically generate the vertical air duct here to connect them together. The software is quite intelligent. Now, next I'm going to show you on how to connect these two air ducts together. We have a function here called air duct fitting. So we just select all of the air duct and it will create the fittings here. Now let's try another function. And the other function is called duct system identify. This will allow us to identify the whole system in one go. So for example, I select the label here and the both lines, and here we can choose which system is this air duct. Once I have chosen the air duct system, then I just click OK. And as long as this air duct is connected, all of the air ducts here will be identified together. So as you can see from here, all of these are identified. To finish with the fittings, again, we're going to use the function again. Just proceed, and here you can see all of the fittings have been generated. Now let's try to do some piping. So we do understand that there are cases where some pipings are very complicated. Here, first we are going to show you the simple ones. If you have piping lines here, you just need to click on the lines of your drawings and it will generate the piping. And the second method is by using the line function. The line function is a bit more flexible, I would say. So let's say, for example, I'm going to draw the piping from one point to another. And let's assume that from this point onwards, the piping is going to go to a different elevation. So here we are going to type in 0.5, and it is going to go up by 1 meter. So to the other point, and then maybe from this point onwards, we are going to have a drop in elevation. Okay. And maybe from here onwards, we might have a slanted pipe. So we can just tick on the slanted pipe. We can also change the elevation again. And once we have finished the piping, you can view it in 3D again. So you can see we can also produce complicated design such as these. Now, on to the next part. Once we have finished our modeling, the next part is about calculation. So once we have clicked on calculate, the software will calculate all of the model that we have created so far. And under this view quantity by category will show all of the quantities that we have. So let's say, for example, this is for the cables, how long is the wiring, and what is the specification of the wire, and which floor are they at, etc. So let's try to view others as well. We can go back to our ACMV. You can see all of the name, floors, and quantities. So again, we're going to change back to agro as well. You can see all of the quantities here for everything that you have created so far. If you want to export the quantities, you can just click on export to Excel, and then it will be exported to Excel. Now, the next thing that I want to show you is about how to check our quantities. Let's say if your manager asks you, how do you get this quantity? You can just double click on the quantities here, and it will directly bring you to the location of those quantities or entities. So as you can see from here, I'm going to just click one by one, and it will bring us to the location. The next part is about region. In some cases, we might need to separate the quantities between different regions. So here we can use the define region function, and then we can just use line or rectangular to draw the area, and then we can rename whether this is a room number 1, let's say, and then maybe we have a second room, then we can just draw the area again. So basically what this does, it will help us to separate the quantities. Then we just calculate the model again, and we can go back to our report. And from here, we are going to customize or change what we want to view. So since we have switched on the region, you can see which quantities are under room 1, room 2, and those non-regions are the quantities that are not included in any region yet. So that concludes for TME. The next one that we are going to talk about will be for TBQ and e-tender. So what is TBQ? TBQ is mainly about how consultants can prepare bill of quantities with our software, and then they can send the soft copy to the contractors to do electronic tenders. From here, contractors can prepare all of their unit prices in the price library provided in our software. Then once they have finished their tender submission, they can send them back to the consultants. And then from here, consultants can use eTender to do evaluation. So from here, we will show you how TBQ works. Basically, from here, we can create our own project first. Let's say you are the consultants. Once you have created your project, you can create your own TBQ project here. For example, you can add any bills, any items or sub-items that you want. Then you can key in all of your descriptions, your unit, quantities, etc. Once you have created all of these, you can send the files to the contractors, and the contractors can use our software to identify whether is it by form of PDF or even Excel. We are going to try to identify a PDF copy. So let's say all of the pages we have here. And once you click identify, the software will identify everything and it will convert all of this information into the software. For example, you can check all of the descriptions, all of the unit, or even rate. Here you can click to double check. So as you can see from here, all of these are properly identified. So the next thing that we can show is how to link the quantity in our TS project into TBQ. So we're going to open back our TS project. We can click on the BQ tab here and click Link TBQ Project. Then we just need to log into our account. Then you can open the project that you have created in TBQ. So currently the quantities here are locked. We just need to close our TBQ first, and we can come back our software, and then we can do the quantity linking. So let's say I'm going to close this project. Okay, then we can come back to our model here, and we can open the report and do the quantity linking. So from here, we just need to click on View Quantity by Category. Then we can just click on those quantities, and we can just click and drag, and it will be connected to our TBQ. So you can just repeat for all of the quantities that you have into the TBQ directly. And once you have done with all of the quantity linking, then we can go back to our TBQ software. And from here, you can see that the quantities have been linked. You can also see that there is a very small icon there stating that this is TAS, meaning it is the quantities linked from TAS model. Once we have done all of the quantity linking, you can either key in the prices manually, but of course, we are going to utilize a better function that we have in the software, which is called the build up unit rates. So now we are going to change to a different tab. And here, this is where we prepare and store our price library. So let's say we are going to create some unit rate here first. We are going to create a subcategory, and we can create based on whether the material, the labor, or equipment, anything that we want. So we can just click on the heading, the subheading here to create all of the unit page. Then you can key in all of your trade codes, your description, unit, etc. So let's say that your company has already prepared an Excel sheet containing all of those information. We can also directly help you to import those information into the software. So right here, I'm going to import an Excel. So this Excel sheet contains many unit rates, including the labor, material, and even equipment. Once you have identified all of these information, you can double check from here. All of the quantities, all of the unit rates have been transferred into the software. So from here, we can continue to do our costing. We can just select the rate code which we have prepared in the build up unit rates. Then all of the net rate, all of those will come in automatically. So let's say that for our builds, we have a lot of items, right? We have walls, columns, beams, etc. We can actually make the process a lot easier by using the filter function. Let's say we are going to search for wall. So once you search for wall, the build will filter all of the wall elements. So you just need to filter that. Then we can proceed to key in the rate code, and then we can just drag this rate code to all of your wall. So you can directly do costing directly here, efficiently and accurately. Now, so let's say that you have finished, let's say as a consultant, you have done your BQ, then you can just publish your BQ, then you can generate this tender document, save your password, and then you can send this to your contractor. Right? So once the contractor has received the TBQ file, they can start to do the e-tendering by using TBQ. Once they have opened it, you can see that the contractors actually cannot change any description here. They can only key in the prices, or they can also utilize all of the price library or unit rates that they have from the current project or even previous projects and utilize it in the costing stage. So for example, if they want to reuse any of the unit rates from previous project, they can just copy and then they can just reuse it. So you can also click and drag, you can double click. There are many ways to do the costing here actually. So let's say you have finished. You just click on generate tender submission. You key in all of the file information here and also key in the password. Then once you are done, you can just save the file and you can send it back to the consultant. Then the consultant can proceed with the evaluation. What if you are a contractor, but you do not have a TBQ? So if that is the case, you can actually also use our website here, which is called eTender. Then you can just import the file you have received from the consultant and do the costing here. Okay, so you can just import the file. Then you can do the pricing here, like how you do it in TBQ. But the main difference here is that you cannot use any price library. You cannot use any past projects, unit rates. You cannot use the filter as well. So basically, I would still recommend you to have TBQ as it will improve the overall efficiency. So again, once you have finished the tender, you can just generate your tender submission here, key in all of the information and also the password. Then from here onwards, the consultants can then import all of the tender submission and do evaluation. From here, consultants can try to compare all of the tender submissions that they have received. So from here, you can see different comparisons here, company 1 and 2, which prices are higher or lower, and we can also further check which specific elements or even bills, whether the prices are higher or lower. So everything is shown clearly, even with a graph here, to show you how many percentage of each elements or bills have taken up. So that is basically for TBQ. So the next one we are going to talk about is how to implement 5D BIM in construction stage. So from here, you can see we have different stages in construction. And during construction stage, there are some common pain points, or I would say some challenges. For example, we will face time constraint, error prone, or even repetitive works. So next, we are going to see how our software can help all of us to reduce all of these issues. Now, this function here is called segmentation. Segmentation here allows us to choose between construction zone, we have subcontracting, progress claim, and even custom. Here, we are going to choose progress claim. And under the progress claim here, we can choose the calculation scope. Then we can just select the area of our completed model. Then we can just proceed to set the associated segmentation. For example, these columns are in between the areas, so we can set whether they are part or not part of the segmentation. Then we can continue to click calculate. Once the calculation has been completed, we can just go to our report or just view from this area and check on the quantities. So please keep in mind the quantities that we have selected here is solely based on the areas or the segmentation that we have selected. So from here, we have selected the progress claim. You can see it is categorized under progress claim number 1. You can also see all of the summary of the quantities based on this segmentation. Now, the next part is about set associated segmentation optimization. This basically allows us to clearly set the quantities, whether we just want formwork or we just want concrete, and based on different types of progress claim. So let us have a look on how it is done. Firstly, we can do the same, choose our progress claim. And now we are going to choose just a few calculation scope, and then we can import the drawing which we have highlighted after we have visited our construction site. Okay, so this is a PDF drawing that we have highlighted based on our construction site. Then once we have imported the drawing, we can switch off all of the non-related entities. So only the columns are left. Then we can select the areas based on the highlighted drawing. Then from here, we are going to choose both formwork and concrete for this progress claim 1. And for the next area, for the columns, maybe we can just choose only for formwork. Okay, so then we can continue the same steps for beam and also slab. Choose the areas that you want, choose the quantities that you want to set. Then you can calculate again and then view the quantities. So from here, you can try to view the expression or the quantities. Once you have clicked on the area, you can see here, the selected slab only contains the quantities which we have set with the segmentation. So here we are going to create another progress claim, but this one is progress claim number 2, and we will include the rest of the quantities. And now we are going to view the quantities again. And here you can clearly see the quantities for progress claim number 1, progress claim number 2, and whether they are just for concrete or formwork or even both. Then here we will try to view from report. So as you can see from here, we also can see the progress claim number 1 and 2. So the next one will be about defined work done. So defined work done is basically for vertical elements such as wall or even columns, because sometimes when we have a very large project, for example, a very tall column, maybe you are going to cast the concrete 2 times. The first progress claim based on that will be maybe 50%, and then the second progress claim will be the remaining 50%, and so on. We can also utilize the segmentation to define the work done as well. So let us have a look. First, we can also create the progress claim first, and then we select the calculation scope. So from here, we will only select, let's say, for columns and walls. And we will select the columns that we want. And this one will be under progress claim number 1 or 2. We can choose from here, and we can choose how many percent has been done. So progress claim is 100%, and we will choose this one as 30%. And then we will just repeat the steps until we have done for all of the columns. And then we can proceed with progress claim number 2. And once we click on the define work done, we can choose to have the remaining percentage. For example, the first is 30%, so the remaining is 70%. If we try to enter a value that is exceeding the 100%, it will give us an error. So we just need to complete all of these. Then we can view our quantities. And from here, you can clearly see our 3D modeling and how the defined quantities are done. So let's try to view the quantities right here. This column right here is claim 100% in progress claim number 1. And then this column right here is claim 30% in progress claim number 1, and the remaining in progress claim number 2. Now, let's have a look at check segmentation. Check segmentation allows us to get an overall picture or save the screenshot to whoever we want to send it to as a proof for when we are trying to apply for the progress claim. So for check segmentation, you can choose all of the progress claim here, and it will show the model in 3D, separate the colors accordingly, and then we can further save the screenshot as high definition JPEG format. So we can do it like this. Then you can just save it, and then we can further send the file to our manager or client or whoever. Now, the next function will be about revision. We do understand that in construction stage, there are a lot of variation order, or we call it revision. So whenever you receive new drawings, you will need to find out where are those changes. So those are very hectic. So in our software, how do we solve this problem? So from here, we have before drawing and also after drawing. So from here, we have before and after drawing. And right now, we are going to compare both of these drawings to find out where are the changes. So the software will do this automatically for us. Here you can see we have green, red, and gray color items. Basically, red stands for deleted items, green for added items, and gray for unchanged items. Once we know where are those changes, we can tell the software, okay, we are going to add a revision, and then we are just going to calculate the model once, and we are going to change or model our project based on the revision drawing. So let's say that these objects are to be deleted, and then we are going to add those elements that are from the new drawing. So let's say we're going to add the beam right here. Then we are also going to add the slabs. Then we are going to add the slabs here as well. And once we have done the revision model, we are going to tell the software, okay, we're done with the revision. Then we can try to calculate the model again. So from here, we can view the change quantity, and it will clearly show us before revision, after revision, and also what are the total changes. So we can clearly see the differences from here. So next, we can also try to check individual quantities by just clicking or selecting those items. Then it will show us whether they are from revision number 1 or whether they are from the original model. Here we can also try to search on where are the changes for all of the entities. Let's say for V1. So we can easily check all of the changes that has been done. Next is about CubiCost Cloud. For the past addition, whether is it to our clients, manager, or our colleagues. So basically what you can see here is like how we can view in the TAS software. You can either view by different zone, different floors, or you can even view by different elements. Then we can also rotate the model, 3D model like we did in TAS. And the next part is about the tools at the bottom here. We can view the model section. This will be very useful when you are at the construction site. And we can also click on individual entities and check for the attribute editor or maybe their quantities as well. So following, we can also view the quantity and also the expression, the volume, the area of formwork, etc. Of course, we can also double check on the quantity report for each and every element. So the next part is about how we can utilize some of the other tools in CubiCost Cloud. So in CubiCost Cloud, we have a tool for us to quickly measure the distance between one location to another. For example, this wall, how long it is. And then we can also leave a comment. Let's say I'm going to select this wall and I'm going to put an arrow and I'm going to leave a comment. So let's say, please check. Then you just click on OK. And the comment will be saved. So anyone who have access to this CubiCost Cloud file, they can open it and they can view all of the changes or the remarks immediately. So we are going to leave another comment on this section. Then whoever have access, we can just click on those comments and it will open up the screenshot and we can view where are those changes or remarks. So that is basically for CubiCost Cloud. So on to the final part. The final part is about be a digital construction hero. Here is a comparison of the work efficiency between using the manual way and by using CubiCost. We can actually see that the comparison here is almost 4 times faster than using the manual method. Here we can see the time to check quantities and also the accuracy of quantities by using CubiCost. The improvement or efficiency is significantly larger, I would say. Here are some of the project management benefits for all of the software. So for the BIM quantity takeoff, the data are all traceable. We have better data storage, no paper are required. And of course, we can also link all of those information and avoid inconsistency and omission. For costing, for TBQ and eTender, all of the data accumulation is properly stored. We have a library management. We have only one platform for the data management. And of course, we do not require any paper. And the consistency is there. So the the top 5 reasons to choose CubiCost. First, from what we have seen so far, it has improved our working efficiency by 60 to 70%. And it has high tech capacity and reputation. It increases your chances to win tenders. Third, it will be your professional internal collaboration and management platform. The fourth is to make the team happier and to have a feeling of achievements. 5 is to have easier communication with the world's largest BIM QS customer base, and so on. Here are some of the typical projects that we have from our existing clients. You can see that no matter how big or different shapes or unique the building is, we can set up or create all of these in 3D. So we can see that the efficiency improvement stated by our clients is up to 60 or even 70 something percent. Why not join us in this 5D BIM journey to have not just intelligence, but also visualizations and also interconnection. Thank you everyone for joining our session. And next we will move on to the lucky draw session.
Hello, everyone. I think for this session, all the panelists, you can turn on your camera. First of all, thanks to Mr. and Samim for the excellent presentation. CubiCost is a SaaS-based software, but in my mind, software as a service is not only a software license and delivery mode in which the software is licensed based on a subscription mode. It also highlights the relationship between software provider, between Gloden and our users. So choosing the right and suitable 5D BIM solution for your team is your responsibility. But once you choose CubiCost, then it is our responsibility to make sure that your team can use and enjoy the benefit from the adoption. And we know that the pandemic, several years. So during the pandemic, it's difficult for us to organize the physical trainings like before. So it makes us rethinking the best way how to keep on providing our good service to our mass users and to keep your capability improved every day. So based on this thinking, we developed a lot of online learning platform. So the first one is e-learning. So in the software itself, so you can find the e-learning part. So e-learning is what we introduced in early 2021. So during it, we will update the courses from time to time. You can quickly select the suitable courses for you. And we divided the courses into different levels. For example, the first one, the basic. The basic is get to know the basic operations. The practice is follow the hands-on practices to get the intermediate certificate. So just follow this e-learning, you can master software and get a certificate. And not only e-learning, we also have the e-community. So if you have any questions that maybe during your operation, during your learning, maybe it is not easy to find, the technical staff person to person, then you can find the questions here. Maybe you can find the answers directly and quickly for you. And now the service for the e-community, now the service is taken care by our service team. But quickly in the future, the service will take care by the AI robot. So based on the AI robot will quickly reply all questions regarding the operations of software. So this is another platform for our learning. And the third one is OTP, online training platform. So this is mainly for our users. So this is for self-learning period. So during your self-learning, not only learn software, you also can get the certificate for your capabilities. And besides that, we also have the online training program. and also have the physical training program. But of course, for the physical training program, you need double check with Golden team or our local partners before we fix the schedule. The pandemic is a big issue now. And other service program like the online and physical project guidance, maybe especially some big companies, after team learn software, maybe it's still worried for the first real projects. Then we can provide some project guidance service for this one. And also we can organize the online physical technical discussion, and even we can go to the project site for site support. Here are some, photos about our workshops, our training programs. In fact, every day we have many this program going on. So in a summary, we have 4 platforms for our learning practice, and we also have Golden team, and also our local partners. So in different countries, we have different partners, service partner, sales partner. So together, we can make sure we can deliver the excellent service to all our users. And today, as we know, Golden is an AEC software provider, and the CubiCost is just one solution from Golden. In fact, nowadays, Golden has more than 100 different products, including design software, QS software, maintenance software. So more toolkit is developed together with CubiCost. So this is 3 free tools that we provide for our quality service together with CubiCost. We can check one by one. The first one is Revit Viewer. You can open Revit modeling and have a look. The second one is more deeper. So this is like the functions in TSC. So compare the difference of 2 joints. The third is PDF converter. Maybe you will say, okay, if I search online, I can find a lot of PDF converter. So PDF converter to the Word. But in fact, ours is we can convert PDF or picture into Excel. This is very important for quality service, because sometimes quality service, we only receive a scanned schedule or PDF schedule. So many tables. So how we get the content? So we can use this tool to support us. And all these 3 tools, after the webinar, we will send to you by the email. And also today we prepared some exclusive promotion. The first one is we call it free selection, mainly focused on TSC for architecture structure and the TRB rebar and MEP. So you can select anyone to start your 5D journey, and we will have some promotions. The second one is for the company. If you are confident with your team, then you can start with 2 solutions. So TS and TRB, architecture and rebar together. So in fact, from our mind, we don't want our users to rush, to jump, to take all the solutions. We want you to start your 5D BIM journey step by step, build a solid foundation for your team. So the first promotion, only for our webinar. So we have 2 options for you. The first option is buy 2 subscription, get 1 free. So that means huge discount. And the second option is free training package. And the deadline is end of next month. So you can select any software that you like. And the second promotion is the combine, the set, combine TS and TRD. So if you buy the set, you can enjoy these 2 options together. That means you can not only enjoy the discount, but also the free training package from Golden team and our local partners. And besides that, we also have prepared a 1-day product experience class. So the first class will be arranged on 1st April, and second one will be arranged on 8th April. So during this one-day product experience class, you can testimony the software by yourself to prove the capability. Because maybe today there's a lot of audience is first time to hear about CubiCost. So after the webinar, there will be survey. You can select which date that you want to join in. And how to get in touch with us? First of all, we have a lot of branches. And also we have a lot of local. So anytime you can drop us email for the demo and analysis. Now let's go to the Q&A session.
I think most of the Q&A session has been answered already. So we do have some questions regarding what are the prices of our products. So regarding the prices, we will send you more information. Please drop us an email, and then we will send the information to you. Yes, and regarding, so regarding our training sessions, we will be holding, like Mr. Frank said, we'll be holding one-day training soon. If you are interested, you can let us know, because after this webinar, you will be directed